5 weeks after my initial seizure, my radiation and chemo treatment started. I woke up that morning a little nervous about going in for treatment, but I'd been in the room the day before when they fitted me with my mask, so I knew what to expect. So I think my nerves were a little calmer than what they would have been. We got into the hospital on day one, and my clinicians met me and took me into the room. And what I was really grateful for is that my support crew were able to come in with me, not during treatment, but to get me set up and started. And I think that was really important for me because you were quite anxious and nervous, and for them to be able to come in too and see what the treatment was going to look like was good for them, I think, too, to understand. I'm happy to show you what the mask looks like and how it fits on, because before I went in to get it fitted and before I had the treatment, I had a different understanding of what it was going to look like, and it was better for me than what I thought it was going to be. So if in showing you helps alleviate some scary thoughts of what it might entail, I'm happy to do that. This is the part that fits over your face, and this is the mold that fits into the bed, and this is what they clip over your head into the bed and clip these screws in. What I really liked about the mask that was much better than I expected is that it was a lot more open. I thought it would be a bit more closed across my face. So just to show you, it clicks in, your mouth is out and your nose and your eyes. So all of this is a lot more exposed than what I expected it to look like. So they had heated blankets. I did take my own blanket on day one, but I didn't need to take that after day one. They strap you in and then everyone leaves the room. From the second actually, I was strapped into the mask, I closed my eyes and I didn't open them again until they came back in to tell me it was all over. Because I was scared and I didn't really know what I was going to see. They had a nice mural on the wall, but I really didn't want to look at that. So I closed my eyes and went off into one of my meditations and just imagined that I was anywhere but where I was. The radiation I thought was going to go for about 20 minutes, but for me it only lasted 8. And for the whole 6 weeks of treatment, it only lasted about 8 or 10 minutes for the whole time, which I was really pleased about. So it went quite quick. There's no noise. It's not like an MRI machine. It's completely silent. They had music playing in the background, so you could choose your own music that you wanted to listen to, or they would just put any music on. Apparently they came in halfway through treatment and moved the bed around, but I must have been so engrossed in my meditation and imagining where I was that I don't even remember them coming in to move the bed. You couldn't actually feel anything either, so it was just silent and you couldn't feel anything. Sometimes I could see some bright lights while my eyes were closed. And when they finished, they came in and said, "We're all done, Michele," and unclipped me really quickly out of the mask, which was good. And I opened my eyes, got up and walked out of the room. So that was it. It was much easier than what I thought it was going to be. It was painless. About half an hour later, in the car on the way home, I started to feel a bit of a warm spot in 2 parts on my head, one here and one up here. And I wondered if that's where the radiation was. And I did start to get a bit of a headache, but nothing that Panadol didn't get rid of. I was a bit tired and just had a rest on the couch. So I walked away thinking, if that's day 1, 29 more to go, I've got this. Thought it's not too bad. I can make this work. After my first lot of treatment, part of the regime for the next 6 weeks, my radiation was 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, and my chemo tablets were 7 days a week for 6 weeks. So I would meet with a nurse once a week afterwards, that they would take my blood tests and just monitor those. I would meet with my radiation oncologist, and I would meet with my doctor oncologist as well, just to monitor my progress on the way through. So that was quite comforting to know that I had regular contact points with various doctors throughout. I had regular headaches, but I was just taking Panadol for those. When I met with the radiation oncologist after the first week, I told him I was getting headaches, but Panadol was keeping them at bay. Some days I would have 6 Panadol, some days I wouldn't have as many. And he said to me, you will get different types of headaches, and Panadol won't be sufficient for those, and we might need to prescribe steroids for those, like dexamethasone. But there's some not nice side effects to those: weight gain, insomnia. So I was pretty determined that I wasn't going to have to take those. And for the whole of my 6 weeks of treatment, I was able to avoid any steroids for the whole time. Starting to make this vlog, and I call them vlogs. I know they're not vlogs. They're called vlogs, but I don't like the sound of that. Sounds like flog. So they'll be forever known as my vlogs. But in making these, I read my journal for the first time since I'd written this, because I was telling the girls how well I did during radiation, and they thought I was a bit delusional because I was really unwell. I thought I did really well and I was well, but I actually forgot how unwell I was during radiation and chemo, and then post radiation I was at my worst. So looking back, I lost quite a bit of weight. I was not interested in food. I didn't want to eat. The girls were making me eat food. Even my favourite things that I really loved, I struggled to eat. I just wasn't interested. One of the things I wish I had have done different is I was prescribed 2 lots of anti-nausea tablets, and I only took 1, thinking I wanted to try and limit the amount of medication I was on. But at a point in time, I think it was about 2 weeks in, my doctor said I need to start taking the other medication because I had told her how well I'd been. And that made a huge difference. I started to not feel as nauseous and I started to eat a bit more. But the 2 biggest side effects for me were tiredness, and I'd sleep every single afternoon after coming back from my treatment. One of the things I started doing was just having a sleep on the couch, but then I started going to bed, and that was the best thing I could have done because I was actually getting a really good sleep and rest. And my doctor said that's really important for healing. So my body's copying a fair impact from the chemo and the radiation. So I've got to be kind to myself and rest.